Hi guys, as you guys voted for the Great Serpent Beast of Japan videos next, that's what we're doing now. So, the Uwabami can eat things much larger than itself, and in larger quantities than you'd expect from a snake of its size. The more food they down, the larger they grow, which isn't the nicest of thoughts to have. Uwabami are no strangers to being drunk or having booze at hand, and you probably can't down more sake than these things can. But considering the fact that they'd probably lift the cups, or if they are to hold the cups, they do that with their tails, that's pretty darn impressive if you ask me. Of course, they can change their forms. They can change their appearances into different objects and animals and have some control over natural disasters like causing rockfalls or flooding. They are giant serpents or snakes that can easily down fully grown humans in one gulp, kind of like anacondas, but much more deadly because these are mythology snakes. And mythology snakes are scary. Ike no Nushi, Master of the Pond, appear as several different creatures in myths, from catfish, turtles, and even a dragon, the most popular form to be that of a giant serpent, though they can be either male or female. Daija and Orochi share the same combination of kanji, which means big snake, but refer to different serpents. Daija usually refers to a giant snake or giant snakes in either fiction or our world, like anacondas say, whereas Orochi refers to large snakes from folklore. Plenty of myths include either Ike no Nushi or Daija interacting with certain princesses across Japanese mythology. In some stories, the princess will mysteriously disappear, and evidence will be left of some sort of snake being present near the alleged scene. In other words, this princess becomes the Daija itself and almost always distances herself from their former family. Despite whatever grief they may have, these families do not dare do anything about their daughter's disappearances or changes because they understand that there's a difference between their realm of power and the realm of powers that they would be messing with. Two hunters arrived at Honzo, a gorge, and came to a riverbank in one story, discovering an abnormal serpent. The younger brother loosed an arrow into the snake's head in fear. Instead of dying, the serpent leapt into the air and became invisible. The hunters could not find a trace of the snake, but a deep fog sprouted afterwards, and the sky became black with rain clouds. The rain hammered down fiercely on the surrounding villages, which were left flooded by the rain, and after 7 days the rain finally stopped. One villager was reported to have witnessed a snake traveling in the river. It must have been the master of the pond, because what else would cause such things? In another story, a samurai arrived to deal with the Daija of the pond. He spied a young lady by the pond and executed her the following day. Her body ascended into the sky. That day, he lobbed off a branch of the willow tree that was next to the pond because the willow tree wasn't there before, and his conclusion was that this must have been some doing of the snake or perhaps even the serpent itself. In my favorite of these stories that I found, Onuma Lake was once the home of a skilled Orochi who could turn into an irresistibly attractive young man and felt like journeying to the eastern mountains to watch the cherry blossoms. During one trip, he spotted a nice young lady under the blossoms who was the daughter of Takanashi Masamori, Kurohime, a significant lord in the nearby area. Kurohime spied him in turn, and the two fell in love. Once the relationship progressed a bit, the Daija saw it best to ask Kurohime's father for her hand in marriage. He presented himself as the guardian deity of the Shika Highlands, a mighty serpent who has made Oguma Lake his home. Masamori didn't like the idea of his daughter being given to someone or something that wasn't human. But our Orochi was a persistent chap and returned to the castle day after day for Masamori's blessing. Eventually, the Lord offered him a challenge. The two would race around the castle 7 laps, and should the Orochi win, he'd get Kurohime's hand in marriage. The Daija was overjoyed and left the castle as a happy snake man, but Masamori set traps around the soon-to-be racing ground. He himself was an excellent rider and knew the castle area like the back of his hand. So he had the swords planted all over the ground, and he of course knew where each sword was, so he could easily avoid them. On the day of the race, the young man appeared, and Masamori proved how good of a racer he was. Our Daija knew that he'd lose were it not for his ability to shapeshift. So he reverted into his original form, and even though the blades pierced and ravaged his skin, he won the race. Though by that point he was a bloody mess and in bad shape, he passed out from his injuries, and upon awakening, he discovered that everyone involved had fled the scene. Uwabami was filled with rage and summoned all its family members and allied spirits to create a terrible sea storm that ruined the local homes. But the nearby mountains acted as a shield for the Lord's abode, and his castle was left comparatively intact. On top of that, animals and people caught in the storm, who had nothing to do with the original quarrel itself, were swept away or perished in the flooding. Kurohime was heartbroken by this destruction and knew how to put an end to it. She scaled down the mountain to Onuma Lake and dived into the flood. Orochi realized what happened, and he ceased the carnage, but Kurohime was never seen again. I suppose the moral of the story is don't mess with snakes or powerful spirits that protect your land, but the story tells us about our Uwabami's abilities, that his transformations do take physical traits of whatever thing he turns into, so well that he can fool even people. He can also clearly take a decent amount of punishment and potentially has some sort of healing factor, though his power to summon storms may be limited or require some empowerment from other local spirits. On top of all of that, he of course has the similar failings of a lot of mythological beasts and perhaps even gods as well. That being that they still have the sort of failings that most humans do, right? We can let the feelings get the better of them, they can be greedy, they can make all of these mistakes, but hey, they can also love and play and do all of that stuff. So, good mix. Good mix. And that was a video on the Uwabami, or Great Serpent Creatures of Japan. You're probably expecting me to talk about Susanoo's story as well, but the focus of this video was the Uwabami, and not that story. But if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and of course subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. And if there are any other tales or beasts or things from mythology you'd like me to cover, go ahead and leave some suggestions in the comment section below. But, till the next video, have a very good day. I've been Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.